Well, shalom, shalom. I'm Barbara, and I'm always short and sweet. What is Hanukkah? This is about 8 days of dedication. Then there's a lot of Bible stories about dedication that were 8 days long. We have Aaron and his sons were dedicated to the priesthood. And then we have 3 altar stories. Solomon's temple, the altar was dedicated. That was 8 days. Ezra rebuilding the temple after they were in Babylon captive, and that altar was dedicated for 8 days. And then when Ezekiel talks about a future altar, and it's dedicated for 8 days. Just to touch a little bit about Ezra, in Ezra 6:16 to 17, then the people of Israel, the priests, the Levites, and the rest of the exiles celebrated the dedication of the house of Jehovah with joy. For the dedication of this house of Jehovah, they offered 100 bulls, 200 rams, and it goes on. And I brought this up because in the Bible Hub commentaries, talking about Ezra 6:16, dedication in Hebrew, Hanukkah, the same word which gives its name to the Feast of Dedication, founded to commemorate the purification of the temple after the pollution of Antiochus Epiphanes. The Feast of Dedication, Hanukkah, the 8-day Jewish celebration known as Hanukkah, commemorates the rededication during the 2nd century BC of the Second Temple in Jerusalem, where, according to legend, the Jews had risen up against their Greek-Syrian oppressors in the Maccabean Revolt. Hanukkah, which means dedication in Hebrew, which we just read that, begins on the 25th day of Kislev on the Hebrew calendar, and usually falls in November or December. The events that inspired the Hanukkah holiday took place during a particularly turbulent phase of Jewish history, and this tells a little more about it. Around 200 BC, Judea, also known as the land of Israel, came under the control of Antiochus III, the Seleucid king of Syria, who he allowed the Jews who lived there to continue practicing their religion. But his son, Antiochus Epiphanes, proved less benevolent. Ancient sources recount that he outlawed the Jewish religion and ordered the Jews to worship Greek gods. In 168 BC, his soldiers descended upon Jerusalem, massacring thousands of people, desecrating the city's holy sacred temple by erecting an altar of Zeus and sacrificing pigs within its sacred walls. And there's an altar of Zeus, picture of the pig on the altar. So led by Jewish priest Matthias and his 5 sons, a large-scale rebellion broke out against Antiochus and the Seleucid monarchy. And when Matthias died in 166 BC, his son Judah, known as Judah Maccabee, the hammer, took the helm. Within 2 years, the Jews had successfully driven the Syrians out of Jerusalem, relying largely on guerrilla warfare tactics. Judah called on his followers to cleanse the Second Temple and rebuild its altar and light its menorah. And that's the golden candelabrum, whose 7 branches represented knowledge and creation, and they were supposed to be burning every night. And even though they only had enough untainted oil to keep the menorah's candle burning for 1 single day, the flames continued flickering for 8 nights, leaving them until they could get their fresh supply. And it took 8 days to rededicate the altar, because remember all the other stories in Torah, it was 8 days to rededicate the altar. And while the part of the story concerning the oil is disputed, it is traditionally accepted the view and the Apocrypha books known as First Maccabees and Second Maccabees record other versions of the origin of the 8 days of Hanukkah, and neither of them mention the oil. First Maccabees reads that for 8 days they celebrated the rededication of the altar. Then Judah and his brothers and the entire congregation of Israel decreed that the days of the rededication should be observed every year for 8 days. First Maccabees 4:56 to 59. Second Maccabees says simply, The Jews celebrated joyfully for 8 days, as on the Feast of Booths, Sukkot. I'll leave these links below these quotes. So some of the Hanukkah traditions, Hanukkah celebration revolves around the kindling of a 9-branch menorah, known in Hebrew as a Hanukkah, and on each of the holidays, 8 nights, another candle is added to the menorah after sundown, and the 9th candle, called the Shemash, or the helper, is used to light the other candles. 168 years before the birth of Yeshua is when Antiochus Epiphanes outlawed the Jewish religion and commanded them to worship Greek gods. So the story of Hanukkah does not appear in the Torah because the events inspired there happened way after the Torah was written. But it is mentioned in the New Testament as a feast of dedication, John 10:22-23. At that time, the Feast of Dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Yeshua was walking in the temple courts in Solomon's colonnade. So he did go up during the feast in the winter. So this is all about dedication. Whether you want to keep Hanukkah or not, I just am encouraging dedicating our hearts to Yeshua. I don't keep Christmas. My kids don't keep Christmas. My grandchildren do have Hanukkah. But for me, this is a time of dedication, especially in the times we're living in. So Leviticus 27 says, "Dedicate yourselves to me and be holy, because I am Jehovah, your Elohim." So if this was a blessing to you, and please share it with your friends that love Yeshua. Also, and Paul says in Romans 12:1, "I encourage you to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, dedicated to Jehovah and pleasing to him." So remember, I'm short and sweet, and I'll see you back next time, Yah willing. And please subscribe. Thank you. Thank you for listening.